this kind of denial of the reality that you have in the European leadership. I mean, with the exception of Viktor Orban in Hungary and Fico in Slovakia, of course, and probably some other politicians who start to understand the reality on the ground. If you look at the map, and probably I can show you these maps, which are probably indicative of the problem here, and that's the evolution of the Ukrainian territory since 2014. And had Ukraine respected the minorities and with the law and all that, that's the map that we have today. So this is the first map. Now, they didn't respect, so we go to the Minsk Accords. If they had agreed or respected the Minsk Accord, that would be the map today. If they had accepted the agreement in the first round of the negotiation, that would be just the part that would belong to, let's say, those two republics, the Donetsk and Lugansk Republic. If they had accepted the agreement of Istanbul, that would be the situation today. That means a neutral Ukraine and the two republics. Well, the status should be discussed. And then you have the preconditions of Vladimir Putin of June 2024, to what we just mentioned. That means all the four regions to Russia and a neutral country. Now, what we are heading to, and that's where the behavior of the Western leadership becomes very bizarre, because where we are heading to, in fact, is a situation such as this one, where suddenly the Russians start to take over probably Odessa or something like that, or maybe even further in the direction of the Dnieper region. And finally, probably what we can call the decisive victory, that would be the whole eastern part of Ukraine being taken over by the Russians and the rest of Ukraine being neutral. I don't expect the Russians to go to the western part of Ukraine, because this is the more nationalistic, where you could have very much difficulties. That's where you had a lot of guerrilla warfare up to the early 60s, with the support of CIA and the MI6 and the DGSE, the French SDEC at the time. That was the SDEC. And they supported insurgent movements in the western part of Ukraine. So I think the Russians don't want to repeat this experience, and that's the different scenario we can have. The problem is that nobody in Europe seems to be aware of that possibility, and that sounds very strange to me. But again, we are with a leadership which is extremely delusional, and that was exactly the same since the very beginning of this conflict, because everybody expected to be able to destroy Russia just with sanctions, meaning that apparently the underestimation of Ukrainian capabilities and capacities is striking, and but we are still in that mood, because you still have politicians. I very recently heard a French politician saying that it's still possible to win over Russia. Now, how you can do that? How you can achieve that? Politically, I mean, economically, I don't see exactly how, but that's the reason why they keep applying new sanction packages, and they want now to strengthen the existing sanctions against Russia. But Russia has completely turned away from Europe, is completely in the direction of China and Asia, and I don't see how economic sanctions can still be effective against Russia. And militarily, we discussed that already. There is absolutely no no perspective here to achieve any decisive. Probably Ukraine can repeat an operation such as the Kursk one and take over some square kilometers, probably, but more than this, I don't expect that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's even increasingly at risk. But listen, I think that series of maps you just showed there is one of the more profound graphics I have ever seen in this war, because it graphically depicts how the failure of the Western world to acknowledge ground truth reality has cost the Ukrainian people and nation at every turn. And if we don't turn things around, and if the Trump administration doesn't take advantage of the opportunity, then those last couple on your screen become increasingly probable. I would even go so far as to say.